Welcome to Blithedale, a community built on the idea of utopia. The story is about a man, Miles Coverdale, embarking on a quest to find utopia through a simple life. This story begins with a conversation between Coverdale and Old Moody. Old Moody and Miles Coverdale. Now pay attention to Old Moody. He's an important character to keep in mind. Old Moody convinces Coverdale to take a message, and so their journey begins to Blithedale. There, Mr. Coverdale meets Zenobia. There's Zenobia, with her beautiful exotic flower in her hair. I might add that Zenobia is not her real name. Mr. Coverdale also meets Mr. and Mrs. Silas Foster. He's important, but at the end, there's Mr. Silas Foster. During a community dinner, the group is interrupted by the arrival of Mr. Hollingsworth, who's carrying a sick child named Priscilla. There's Mr. Hollingsworth. He's a very handsome man. And then Priscilla, the sick child. Everyone is confused because they think she's an expected guest, but no one really recognizes her. Soon after, Mr. Coverdale becomes severely ill and develops a great bond between himself and Mr. Hollingsworth. Zenobia and Hollingsworth work as a team to take care of Mr. Coverdale, but Mr. Coverdale recovers and then enters spring. So when Mr. Coverdale gets sick, it's fall, winter, and then when he recovers, it's spring. Spring is a symbol of rebirth. You see Mr. Coverdale feel sick during the winter, what I just said, and then he actually gets better in the spring, which again, I said, could be symbolized as a new beginning. During spring, all of the characters tend to the land, and Priscilla seems to open up and become more forthcoming as to where she came from. We should mention that Priscilla, from the moment she saw Zenobia, latched onto her like a younger sister would. Now pay attention to that as well. It's important. So Priscilla recovers, and once again, it's spring. So we see the symbol of new beginning. During this time, Zenobia and Hollingsworth become close and tensions rise between the characters. Hollingsworth, Zenobia, and Coverdale go to Eliot's pulpit to discuss community matters. There's Eliot's pulpit. It's a bunch of rock formation in the woods. There, Hollingsworth, Zenobia, and Coverdale go and discuss community matters. They discuss women's rights, and during then, the discussion, things get really heated. We move past this and enters a stranger, Westervelt. Mr. Coverdale does not like him and overhears Zenobia and him talking about their prior relationship. There's Mr. Westervelt. He's so angry. He's a professor. At this time, Zenobia then tells a story about a veiled lady. There's our veiled lady. We'll go back in that in a moment. Since the meeting at Eliot's pulpit, Hollingsworth and Coverdale get into such a heated discussion that Mr. Coverdale leaves Blithedale and heads to the city. This is where things get interesting, like a modern soap opera. Mr. Coverdale sees Hollingsworth, Zenobia, and Priscilla all together and start to question the reasoning and seek out Old Moody right there. We find out during one of his drunken stupors that Old Moody is actually Fauntleroy, the father of Priscilla and Zenobia. Oh, what a tale. So they're half-sisters, Zenobia and Priscilla. You see, Old Moody was rich and well off, but he lost everything. During that time, he had Zenobia. After he lost everything, he remarried and then had Priscilla. Mr. Coverdale finds this out and is shocked. Everybody goes back to Blithedale. And this is where the veiled lady appears again. Mr. Westervelt is mind-controlling Priscilla. Everyone goes back to Eliot's pulpit, and Zenobia accuses Hollingsworth for his love of Priscilla because she is the veiled lady. It's all too much for Zenobia, and she tells Mr. Coverdale to tell everyone that Hollingsworth murders her, and then the next time she sees him, it will be with a black veil, because Zenobia is saying that she was in love with Hollingsworth, and then she finds out that her sister is Priscilla, and she just can't handle it anymore, so she tells Mr. Coverdale that the next time Hollingsworth sees her, it will be with a black veil, which is left to be interpreted death. The black veil, we assume, is the symbol of death. So Zenobia runs away and kills herself in the lake, or she's found in the river. She's actually found by Mr. Foster. So there was a search party. So Hollingsworth, Coverdale, everybody looks for her. But they find her, and she's dead. So, in the end, Priscilla is unaffected because of the lack of attachment, but Mr. Hollingsworth is torn apart. So Mr. Hollingsworth feels bad that Zenobia killed herself, and Priscilla is less empathetic because she never really had that attachment. So Priscilla gets mad at Hollingsworth because she feels that Zenobia still has control over him. So in the end, Mr. Coverdale once tried to create, with his fellow colleagues, a community free from modern plagues of the current society. That plan eventually failed, and he was left with what he started out with: pain and misfortune plus a broken heart. Now let's get back to the symbols within the actual story. Eliot's pulpit, to me, symbolized organizational law. All members went there to discuss and resolve problems, like a safe haven. But those issues became much bigger problems, which eventually led to the members leaving. Now, poor Zenobia, where is she? Oh, there's her exotic flower. Let's put it back on. Sorry, Zenobia. So Zenobia and her exotic flower is meant to symbolize pride. She wears the flower even through the winter months, all the time. It's a staple of who she is. Now the Veiled Lady. Let's get back to this Veiled Lady. It's a symbol of concealing the identity, of which is what most of the characters are trying to do. This is why they actually started the Utopia. So long and short, here's Blithedale. Here's all the characters in Blithedale. Mr. Coverdale wanted to start a community that was unlike the society he was in right now. But the end result turned out to be just as he was before. So essentially, you can't really run away from your problems. Sorry for the shaky video. I hope you liked my characters. No Legos were hurt during this operation. And good luck with everybody else's project.